Good morning, YouTube. It's your buddy Choppadong. I am coming at you today with a couple of key points with my episode of Chop Talk brought to you by the one, the only, DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things DFS, MMA to PGA, NFL to NBA. We've got you covered with coaches, contributions from experts across the industry that are winning, professional players in some cases, and of course the tools that make you a better player. So head down into the comments section. Click the link, dfsarmy.com. Contemplate signing up. Don't contemplate it, just do it. And become a VIP today and unlock everything for yourself. We don't charge by the sport. You unlock absolutely everything it is we have to offer. And at the end of the video today, I'm going to show you our newest addition, our newest feature. So let's dive in. Let's cover NBA. Let's cover NHL box check, NFL box checkers. And then let's top off with a little bit of NHL kind of towards the end and show you what it is that I'm talking about. Main thing is to be watching my pinned tweet, because as I start picking up more and more VIPs, as you guys become members of DFS Army, I am getting into a giving spirit and a giving mood, not just because it's December, but because I just want to start giving back. And I want to leverage that to grow the Army even more and use whatever teeny tiny platform I have in giving back to you guys. So whether you're a member or not, whether you've been around for a long time or a couple of days, retweet my pinned tweets. And then throughout the day, sometimes I'll ask for retweets on different ones, whatever. But retweet those tweets, and every single time you do it, I will enter you into January's sweeps. I just entered about 25 people in this morning that have retweeted my tweets throughout the last few days. And so thank you very, very much. Click the like and subscribe button. Thank you very much there. We're going to grow this thing, and the more I build, the more I'm going to give away to you guys as a reward and as a thank you, because I believe that the world's better when we take care of each other. Let's jump in, talk a little bit. Well, I mean, you can see the hurry ups up if you're into NFL Week 15. The overview of the slate's already up. First look was up last night for NBA. Taking a look at today's slate, let's dive in and see what we find. I'm going to take a different approach. You've seen me do the and one stuff before, and what I'm going to do today is kick off into a little bit. See, logical things pop into my head that should make sense. Now, it's up to you as to whether or not you want to apply these things, but what I'm showing you is the capability of these tools that we offer inside DFSArmy.com and what they can point out to you. I went ahead today and I started looking at fantasy points per minute, because, I mean, results are results. And if a guy averages, 1.5 fantasy points per minute, we project, his minutes, and we get pretty close to what it is that he should do. As the matchup is better or worse, his fantasy production goes up and down. And he's going to run, obviously, in a channel of points from 0 to 100, or some guys from 40 to 60, other guys, from 15 to 28, or whatever. But this is going to help us understand, is the matchup good or is the matchup bad? If his number goes up, it's good. You follow me, you start watching me, really starting to share with you guys now, looking at a baseline number, a moving average of, say, a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, half a season, a full season, whatever. A stabilized baseline that we can then kind of rely on, and then from there take a shorter sample of moving average numbers, 5 days, 10 days, whatever, and watch it bounce above and below that baseline and give us indications as to whether or not we should contemplate buying or selling that player. We're always looking for value in DFS. Now, I mean, in GPPs, a little less than cash. In cash games, you're always looking for value. In GPPs, you're wanting to just hit the upside and hit the guy on his nut night. But really and truly, when we're looking for that value, we're wanting to have the price be below what his production is capable of producing on a given night. So if I'm looking at a guy whose price is sort of meandering around $5,000 because that's what his baseline production dictates he's worth, and all of a sudden he gets on a little hot streak and starts producing above that baseline. Let's say that baseline was 30 points. And all of a sudden, I mean, obviously I'm already off with a $5,000 player and 30 points. That'd be great. That'd be 6x. But hear me out hypothetically. If he's sitting on 30 points, kind of, give or take 30 points, his moving average starts ticking up a little bit. He gets an increased roll or whatever in 31, 31 and a half, 32, whatever. His price is going to start creeping up in the industry, of course. But if his smaller baseline number all of a sudden goes from, say, 32 or 33, which is creeping him up a little bit, goes to, say, 25. Now all of a sudden he is overpriced because he's being priced as if he was scoring 31, 32 points, but he's only getting you 25 over the smaller sample. So he's overpriced. And then all of a sudden his price starts coming down as he's averaging that 25, 26, whatever. His price starts coming down. And then all of a sudden he gets hot again or gets an increased roll or whatever it is. Boom, up above 35, 36, 37. Starts averaging that for 3, 4, 5 games. And now all of a sudden he's underpriced because he was coming down to match the production of the 25 points per game. And all of a sudden now he's producing 32 again, 35, 36. Now he's underpriced because the price is not going to be as sensitive to day-to-day action. It's not going to react as quickly as our matchups or our predictions or our projections can do. And that's what we're looking for on a daily basis in a rough way. So what I'm looking for here is full season stats as my baseline. I sorted descending to bring the guys to the top. Anthony Davis, 1.64 points. Giannis, 1.63. Westbrook, 1.55. Embiid, 1.51. And I'm watching, what are they doing today? What is the matchup dictating they're going to do today? 1.55, down. 1.55, down. 1.53, about the same. 1.75, up. So in this case, we're looking at, on a smaller sample of just a one-day projection, I'd love it if we had a 3-day average or something, but a one-game projection of 1.55 is telling me he should underperform based on his average, which means he should be overpriced tonight. Is that going to work like black and white? This is absolutely how you win this game? No. But it's another way to evaluate players. You can use that, and you can use and one, and you can use who's hot, and you can use other parameters, your own research, your own coach's picks. They really like this guy. I really trust that coach, whatever. And as you go through, what you're doing is you're starting to check boxes, which you'll see is a much more refined system when we talk about football here in a couple of minutes. But you're saying, okay, his and one is above an 11, check. Hell, it's above a 20, check. Give him 2 check marks, whatever. His full season stats are above a 1.1, check. His projections today are above his season average, check. Compared to other guys priced like him, he's cheaper, check. His defense, the defense that he's facing tonight, gives up a lot of points to the small forward, check. Whatever it is, you're finding your own parameters. In football, thanks to Chris Raybon, we have historically back-tested check boxes that we can look into. These are just using the same theory, the same method, and we're just going through the motions, finding things that logically make sense. Are they implied to score over 225 points in the game tonight? Check. Are they paced up? Check. Whatever you decide, it can be 3 or 4, it can be 20 categories. I don't care. And what I will tell you again, the and one category covers a ton of that for you, and that's where that matchup number comes from. But anywho, we're looking for guys that are up. So obviously Embiid might be priced down. He might be in a better matchup than usual. Therefore, he is a value play tonight. And he might be a very dominant value play tonight at 10,700. And we look here at the value projection on him already, and it's 5 points. That is a monster number. For that salary, this is crazy stupid. To the point you should probably be double checking it, saying, what is up with this? Is it really that good of a spot? And you're going to have to go digging. I'm just telling you what the numbers indicate. I'm showing you how to use the tool. You can scroll over to his consistency numbers here, and let's see how often Embiid hits 5x. 50% of the time. Doesn't hit 6x much. So that's maybe a bit of an issue. Maybe he doesn't have the ceiling tonight. Maybe because his fantasy points are way above his season average, maybe he does. Maybe this is one of those 15% of the time. But it's very, very hard to go from 5x to 6x when you're priced in the 10 and 11K range, because you've got to tack on another 10 points. And it's just hard to do at that salary level. It's a lot easier for these guys down here at 6,500 to hit 6x because they can hit 40 points in a night. And as opposed to 32 points a night or something and just add a few points and all of a sudden he goes up to 6x and he's more of a value. That's one other reason why you're going to be looking a lot towards these guys down in here to formulate a lot of your cores, and then you're going to come up here and you're going to buy those raw points. If you haven't seen the article that was produced a year or two ago about how that number is not linear, it's not 4x for everybody, 5x for everybody, 6x for everybody. It's a sliding scale. The higher the price, the higher the salary of the player, the fewer, the smaller the multiplier can be, and it still helps you. Todd Gurley still helps you at 2x as opposed to needing 2.5 to 3x. If he gets 2.5 to 3x in NFL, he's done great for you. But his salary is so high, it's damn near impossible for him to hit 3x, whereas a little bitty guy, like an Adam Humphries or somebody who's not super cheap anymore, but you know what I'm saying, he actually can hit 3x a lot easier. So he needs to do that more often to help you more, because you're not buying the raw points like you might be with a Todd Gurley or an Anthony Davis or Giannis. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But let's run through these projections the way I've got them sorted out. I also took out the minutes, only people over 20 minutes, only people over 20 points. And let's use those as our positional guides today. And we've sorted by fantasy point minutes, and we're going to see who's above and who's below this number right here. So click that again because the machine lags sometimes. It times out on me. I'm sure everybody else sees the same thing. But point guards, Westbrook, Curry, Irving, Lillard, Walker, Simmons, these guys are all pretty much in play. You might look for pricing. Oh, there's a pricing discrepancy. Here's a little bit of a pricing discrepancy. Let's see. Are we scheduled to be above? Nope, we're about the same. Are we scheduled to be above 1.2, 1.2? Nope, a little below. So not much of a story to tell there. But when I'm looking at these guys, about the same, little below, a little below, a little below, a little below. Let's look for one that's above, about the same for John Wall. Below, below, below. I want something that is kind of significantly above right here, Trae Young. Trae Young is pretty well, and there's the value. Trae Young is projected to have a better night production-wise. Therefore, if he's projected to get bigger minutes than usual too, it's a double whammy, and it should help you out. Trae Young might land on your list. He's also got, where's Trae Young? He's only at an 8.8, so you want to get off the herd a little bit in the DFS army, the guys that are preaching the and one. This is just another way to do it. You might look at a Trae Young. You might do some research on him and see what his situation looks like tonight. Why is he at an 8.8 in the and one, but yet he is scheduled to produce more than the season average? Question you can answer. Let's look for shooting guards. Oladipo, obviously, injury concerns. Holiday, Russell, Beal, Burks, cheap. Middleton, Schroeder, Doncic. These are guys that we're going to go down here. We're going to look, okay, so running above here for, Oladipo. Same, below, below, way below. Might get off of it, Alec Burks. Below, 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 above. Doncic. 5.4. There's the value again. Anytime you see this spiking above this, you're going to see that. So really and truly, you could even throw this out and just say, I'm going to sort by value and just call it a day. And the big value guys are going to run above that. But let's run through just as today's theme, and let's just find a few of these guys. Any of these are above a 1, so there's a slight upticks. None of these are major upticks, just here. Even this one down here is just a kind of a slight uptick. It just happens, well, at 7,000, Hardaway at a 5.2 at 7,000 should be in consideration. Wiggins at a 0.89. I'd almost like guys that are getting a point per minute or better, but whatever. There's a couple of guys that you might point out that you might do a little bit more research on, like I said. Small forward, Giannis questionable, KD, Paul George, Bembry for cheaper, Jellica for cheaper, Evans, Richardson, J. Rich, whatever. Lower minutes, we might look, in a way to find that is to scroll over here at the minute, the clock watch. Up 4 minutes per game over the last 3 games versus the last 10 games. So 26 versus 22. So maybe we're seeing a little bigger role. Maybe there's an injury on that team somewhere. Maybe the coach is throwing him in the rotation a little bit more. If you follow the NBA closely, you know the answers to those questions. I don't need to follow the NBA super closely because I have the tools that point it out to me. Does it help to have the eye test and watch the games and know the rotation? Absolutely it helps. But can I still be competitive if I just follow some of these numbers and pick out who the numbers are spotlighting? Yes, absolutely. So I sink my time and my energy into learning hockey. I like it better. Baseball, football, whatever. I don't follow basketball nearly as closely as the other sports. Doesn't mean that I can't show you the tools and guide you through the slate. Maybe point out a couple of plays here and there that are not necessarily sneaky, but are poised to do well. We're looking at 1.63, so we're below there, we're below there, we're below there. Doesn't look like a super strong position tonight in terms of fantasy points producing versus what they usually do. Couple of upticks. Again, nothing super special at small forward. So if I looked at the and one rating just strictly, I might be focused a little bit more towards top. I might be paying up. I might find that it's a fairly deep position or a shallow position tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 guys at small forward are rated above an 11. So, 3 of whom are over 9,000. Look at this, though. Harrison Barnes is a 17.9. 5x projection, 0.8 versus 0.84. 8.8 versus 8.4. Price held steady over the past day. Minus 2 point cheaper on Fanduel than DraftKings. Facing a horrible DVP. Interesting. Maybe we like Harrison Barnes tonight. Seems to be checking quite a few boxes, just at first glance. Looking through power forwards, Davis, Sabonis. Sabonis is going to be cheap. Diallo, that's interesting. Terrible and one rating. But when he gets minutes, can crank off 20 points or so. Might be a decent, if he's scheduled to get some minutes tonight, again, follow the news and figure it out, but might be a decent drop score candidate over on FanDuel. Ibaka, Bam, Collins, a lot of people are going to be other places for sure. But 5.4, something about him tonight, even though he's not spiking here above his average, that's interesting. Maybe it's an increase in minutes. 1.55, 1.14, so far nothing really jumping off the page crazy. I guess Jaren Jackson, maybe. So really nothing here. So this method's doing okay, but we'll wrap it all up here after the centers here in a second. Embiid, Drummond, Nurkic, Karl-Anthony Towns, Julius Randle. These are all guys who are traditionally producing over, 1.3, 1.5 fantasy points per minute. Tonight, there's your big jump in Embiid. I would imagine he's going to be very chalky. A little bit Karl-Anthony Towns might be a decent pivot. Might not pay as much attention to some of these others. Marc Gasol, $1,000 price drop, cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings, mediocre matchup, decent minutes, decent value multiplier projected. Let's check his ceiling. Let's run over to Gasol's ceiling. See if he even hit. There it is. 53% of the time, 5x, 38%. There's one of your GPP pivots off of Embiid right there. Good chance he goes for 6x. He's underpriced compared to Embiid. He gets you a different lineup construction, and if he hits 5x or 6x, he has you on other players that might also have other good nights that you can now leverage against the field in a completely different build. That's intriguing to me. These types of things just become intriguing options for tournaments and things. For cash, you probably want to stay a little bit more with the herd, a little bit more with the chalk. Because there's no reward in fading the chalk and gambling on a guy that's not in an obvious spot. There's no reward for that in cash games because you don't make more money if you finish third in a double up as opposed to 45th. You don't make any more money. There's no reward for the risk that you might take in gambling on that upside. So if you know where the chalk and ownership is projected to be, you might use those as your tiebreakers and say, okay, I'll take the chalky guy here. Okay, I'll take the popular guy here. There's nothing wrong with that in those cash games. But obviously in tournaments, you're going to want to get away from that just a smidge and try and differentiate yourself somewhere. It looks like Gasol is one great way to do it. If I kick that off the centers, and then now just sort by and one. I wanted to do value. But if I look through here, you know, it's not a terribly deep slate tonight, just judging by how far down I had to scroll, or at least the lack of how far down I had to scroll for the number of games that we have. So some of those guys up at the top and those best matchups with those good projections that are projecting their points per minute to be higher than usual or whatever, those are going to be keys to your lineup building process. The value we saw towards the end, where the value did not necessarily indicate that, you know, a guy could be running at a 5.0 and still be projected above what he usually is in fantasy points per minute. So this is, I guess, sorting by value isn't what I thought by the time we got to shooting guard, that this was just wasting everyone's time. It's actually kind of not, because look, barely above, quite a bit above, barely above. You know, I mean, below, well above Doncic. Okay, so Embiid and Doncic look like they're going to trip the radar tonight a little bit. Above here for Gasol. Gasol is very intriguing to me. I'm going to listen to my coaches and see if they don't completely shit on him. If they don't completely shit on him, then I'm going to probably throw him in a lineup or two just because of what it allows me to do. And the way I would do that is I'd go into our domination station and I would uncheck a couple of the centers that are being popular, or I would just lock Gasol in there, run 3 lineups with him with a couple of unique players and see which one I like best, which combination I like. If I've already been running some fairly default combinations to get an idea of how the projections are falling together and how the builds are going, then I'm going to be able to quickly see where that shifts me when I run Gasol and lock him in. And who does it end up? Does it go up to Westbrook? Was it liking Westbrook anyway? Does it go up to other spots? And then I'm going to be able to tell how much I really like the upside. Go research those players it puts in there. Go back and see if they also have upside. And if they also have a lot of upside, to hit their upside frequently, or have decent projections, and the optimizers are not pulling them in the normal builds, then Gasol becomes a big linchpin that can really tip me off to a massively different but still good GPP lineup that can really take down some bigger contests. Again, that's the strategy that goes into that. That's the stuff we talk about at DFS Army. That's the stuff we guide you towards, showing you how to get on these trains of thoughts as you go poking through the tools and logically determine who might be in good spots and who might not be. But there's all your value plays that you're staring at tonight, as rated by our projections so far. Let's dive into NFL. It doesn't take long to go through the box checking stuff. Okay, if you remember, the first thing we do is we sort. We sort by favorites, less than 0. And the team total's over 24. For the most part, that's most of them. And we're going to try to find a relatively inexpensive guy or two. Goff, Cousins kind of crapped, and there might be a bounce back there against Seattle. Deshaun Watson, again, these are guys that you might be considering down in the 7s. You can always take Mahomes because Mahomes is just seems to be fairly matchup proof. He's a little bit more of a GPP play for me because typically I don't want to pay over $9,000 for a quarterback on Fanduel. That's another one of the criteria historically that does not meet value once you get, because you don't have 300-yard bonuses and whatnot. If you don't get if you get over $9,000, you typically don't bring back the value that helps your roster that could have been used elsewhere by saving money at quarterback. You don't want to go too far below. DraftKings is one of those that, because of those bonuses, and I'll tell you this again, DraftKings rewards cheap quarterbacks. That doesn't mean you should always be paying way down. It means that you should look to pay down at the best possible option. You're going to stop somewhere and not go any lower, but try to take the cheapest viable option. Why? Because he can get the 300-yard bonus, but saving that money can buy up those running backs and buy up those wide receivers that can then get the 100-yard bonuses on top of that. So not only did you free up 3 points for yourself at your quarterback, but you freed up 3 and 3 for your running back and wide receiver. You freed up 9 points. That really and truly saving money at the quarterback spot is what triggered that. What unloaded that avalanche of bonus points. You can't do that on FanDuel because it's not their scoring system. And you can't do that oftentimes by paying, well, you can, but I mean, you're not going to trigger that avalanche on DraftKings paying up for the quarterback, because then it hampers your chances at paying up at running back and really getting the chance at that 100-yard bonus, that secure chance at the 100-yard bonus. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So when we're looking to pay down on both sites, we're looking to pay down farther on DraftKings than we are on Fanduel. Because on Fanduel, we don't get those bonuses. We still want to pay down because, again, it allows us to buy up elsewhere. And when quarterbacks run in a pretty tight channel of, say, between 15 and 25 points usually, or 18 and 30 points or whatever, you're generally speaking, you're wasting money by paying up unless you have a ceiling of a Patrick Mahomes or you're trying to be different on purpose with Mahomes. You're looking to generally pay down. Somewhere under 8,500 is kind of the rule of thumb, and above about 6,500. So somewhere in that channel. And this year's a little different because they've really bunched them together. So now what we're really doing is we're gambling. If everybody's priced nearly the same, it's just kind of crapshoot at who's going to have the better day. You're playing more matchups. You're playing more, historical who's hot type stuff because the price isn't that big of a difference. It used to be a little wider discrepancy in past years. But anyway, theory still stands. Jared Goff, big rating. Drew Brees, big rating. Kirk Cousins, better rating. These are the guys that I'd be looking at. I'd be looking at the cheaper ones. Are they home? Goff is home. Cousins is home. Drew Brees is on the road in a little bit tougher environment. So I'm looking at these two to start my list. I may end up on somebody else. Andrew Luck has maybe a bad matchup against Dallas, but the dude's been throwing for volume, and volume's a great thing for quarterbacks if he's efficient with it. And this year, Andrew Luck has been pretty efficient with it. I'm a little surprised his numbers that low, but I get it. It's not a great matchup for him. Trubisky's back. Do you realize Trubisky's one of the QBR leaders in the league this year? I don't see Green Bay being a DVP type intimidating matchup, so Trubisky might be in play at home. Unless, it's bitter cold or supposed to snow, which I don't think it is. Anywho, let's move to running backs. Since you've seen 2 or 3 of those guys that you might be interested in. Again, we're going to sort by spread because we want favorites. And preferably heavy favorites. So yes, we would want Gurley. Gurley and Goff's a good combination. Saquon Barkley, I guess. Kamara, bigger favorite. The bigger that, the more Ingram's going to be involved. Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook. These are your bigger spreads. Implied to score some points. Dalvin Cook is interesting. Bounce back spot. Cousins and Cook. Thielen would be in a bounce back spot if he's not injured. 27-29. Big totals on these games. Big favorite. 29, big favorite. Mark Ingram. Okay, that's the New Orleans game. 27.5. Marlon Mack. Is that Mack? No, Gus Edwards in Baltimore. Interesting. So I'm looking again for home running backs, big spreads, and I want them getting 3 downs worth of work. I can also look over here to the truck stick rating and see Gurley and Phillip Lindsay at home against Cleveland. Soft matchup. 24 points. Favored, good. Good matchup for Lindsay. Cheaper price. Gurley's expensive. Lindsay's in there as well in the consideration. Joe Mixon, I don't know, maybe. Coming down here a little bit, Gus Edwards, Tevin Coleman, both at home. Cheaper, definitely. Big truck stick ratings, big favorites. They're just checking some of the boxes. These are guys that we want to look into, put in our short list. Like a Tariq Cohen at 7.6. He's at home. He's, not the ground and pound that Jordan Howard's supposed to be. So he's going to be factored out of the game somewhat on the goal lines and whatever else. Now, is he going to be on my short list? No. Is he playable? Probably. He's a big play guy that can get loose for a play or two. He would be more of a tournament pick. He probably won't be that popular because he's not checking obvious boxes this week. Therefore, a lower owned tournament type play that is in an okay spot. Why not? These are the types of things you walk through and think about. How secure is the workload here? How secure is the game script pointing to? Is this a player that is unlikely to fail? How many scenarios come up where he's likely to fail? If the answer with a Todd Gurley is like almost none, or Phillip Lindsay as it's pointing out, or a Saquon Barkley who's been very consistent this year, then you're going to put this guy in some cash game type lineups because he's going to produce. He's not going to fail. I don't need his best performance. I don't need his upside as much as I need his floor. Those that don't make the list that were kind of close or that I can see having big games or in a great matchup but don't have a secure workload or whatnot, those are the guys that go on my GPP type list. And I'm going to build a lineup around 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 solid foundation chalky cash guys. And then I'm going to throw in a GPP type lineup a couple of guys, maybe a QB wide receiver stack that nobody's playing, that I'm not playing, didn't make my list. Maybe that's where Cousins and Thielen go. Maybe Goff and Robert Woods and Fade Gurley. Those are GPP type maneuvers. I love just sorting by sticky hands for wide receivers. It's a very, very good catch-all, quick way to start finding value. Let's look for who the underpriced guys are that pop to the top. DJ Moore, I don't know. Cam Shoulder. Funchess has fallen off the map. Josh Reynolds is a GPP type of play for LA probably. Michael Crabtree. Hard to say. Bigger total. Soft secondary. I mean, Lamar Jackson can't hit water if he falls out of a boat, but doesn't take much when you're throwing to short air yards and short A dots. Devontae Adams a little lower on the list I'd like to see. Jarius Wright, John Brown, Willie Snead, Dante. A lot of the Baltimore guys pop to the top. Dante Moncrief. Very intriguing. But these are lists that you can then sort through. Look for some of the cheaper guys because if you pay up at running back, you're going to need some of these guys. See if they're in somebody who significantly pops off the radar. Maybe you have to pay up in a spot, for a Robert Woods, a Brandon Cooks. Maybe you have to pay up in a spot, for even a Devontae Adams. There's Thielen at 8,200. You're generally going to pay up in these spots once. Sometimes you can pay down all three and pay up at all three running backs. It all depends on your build, your bend, what you're trying to accomplish. But you're always wanting to ask yourself, how secure is that floor? How secure is that workload in cash type concepts? Of course, again, in GPP contests, you don't care. You're not so worried about a floor. If he duds on you, so what? You weren't winning anyway. So big favorites again, big totals again. These guys up top. Kelsey Ebron. Does this surprise anybody? Ebron's price didn't change much. It went up $100. All right, lock and load. Sorry. I don't give a crap that Dallas is a tougher defense. Ebron has 2 TD upside in every matchup. And he's, $1,500 underneath Kelsey still. Hooper for $1,000 cheaper. Tends to fall in some end zones. I don't know. I just 6,500 is fairly reasonable. It's better than 6,500 gets me in a lot of other wide receiver spots. I have no issue paying up for Ebron if I can. It may require me to go down to the third wide receiver. That's fine. In a nutshell, that's box checkers. Those are some of your playables. I just don't see. Now, Kyle Rudolph would be an interesting GPP type of pivot. I don't think he's going to be super chalky. Uzoma has a great matchup against Oakland. There's a cheap pick for you. So, I mean, there are cheaper stuff if you really want to save that $1,000, $1,500 and get up in a wide receiver. But with the 2 TD upside and a huge sticky hands rating, I'm probably going back to Ebron. Now, let's hit the announcement really, really quick, and then we'll ship out of here. I wanted to show you guys that NHL is now available for the Domination Station. Still got some bugs to work out. Today's its debut. I should be screaming and shouting and yelling and going, jumping, doing backflips and stuff because we've been waiting for this for a couple of years. It's finally here. It's finally here. There's a couple of things that you need to know about this system. I mean, you can, if you want, just punch in, run a couple of unique players just like the others, click optimize, see what lines, it cranks out, see who it likes tonight. It likes Sidney Crosby, it likes Pacioretty, it likes Case for value. Okay, based on projections, that's what it's going to do. You can also kick out your third and fourth line guys, run it again. Of course, it's still going to like Crosby, Pacioretty, and those guys. But it might change your player pool up a little bit. Another thing that you could do, I don't mind adding in third guys. I'll show you controlled stacking here in a minute. You can go sorting through, again, with the like, love, and adore. You can tweak projections. You can put in global exposures. If I don't want anyone in more than 3/4 of my lineups, bam, nobody will show up there. I can exclude guys. I can lock guys. You know, I can do all of the stuff that optimizers can do. But what I typically find you can't do other places is control that exposure as tightly as we can, as finely tuned as we can. And you're not going to control the unique players and get that core spread that you might want. And of course, you know, I mean, you can make lineups everywhere and you can do whatever you want to do. But I'm just trying to explain where I'm finding the advantages to this optimizer besides in NBA are, you know, third-party verified most accurate projections in the league right now in the industry. That's a big plus. We know what we're doing. We know how to project points. Now it carries a little less weight in NHL. It's a very volatile sport. A guy can miss a net by, you know, half an inch. The goalie can make a freaking Vasilevsky behind the back type save. Crazy crap happens. Shoot the, you know, some random guy, you know, scores some fluke ass goal or what. I mean, and it burns your goalie. Whatever. There's weird things that happen in this sport more so than the other sports. Baseball's another one just like it, but the projections are just kind of a base of an idea. You see a guy typically runs at 16, all of a sudden he jumps to 18, he's in a great spot tonight. That's how you use those projections. You can also sort by value. See who your bigger value plays are tonight, Pack Ready. That's why the Domination Station loves him. Jerry, Murray, DeSmith for goalies, obviously. Chad Johnson's interesting, just got picked up by Anaheim. Case, value play. Hannafin, value play. I mean, that's what it's going to like. Stacking is very, very simple. Let's just pretend. Now, I can turn the teams off if I want. But let's just pretend that I love Vegas and Pittsburgh and Anaheim tonight. Those are the teams I love. Those are the teams I'm going to be doing my controlled stacking on. I'll double stack the game. I'll come over here with a 3x3. I can do 2x2, 4x4, 4x3, 3x2, whatever I want. And I'm going to try and mix and match. And I'm going to throw Vegas in there. I'm going to add a team. I'm going to throw Pittsburgh in there, add a team, and I'm going to throw Anaheim in there on my primary, you know, one of my primary stacks. Let's say over here, I'm going to throw Vegas in secondary so that I can get them stacked with Pittsburgh. Throw Pittsburgh in there too. Let's throw Anaheim in again. And let's say I pick up another team that I just want for shits and giggles and call it New York. And on them, I only want them in about 10% of my stacks. Now I want the other guys, what is that? 90, so 30, 30, 30. Pretty evenly spread. Over here, call it 50% Vegas. So Vegas is going to be about 80% of my lineups. I have a ton of Vegas tonight. And then I'll come down here with 25 and 25. And these guys will be in about 50% of my lineups. And we're going to bounce it around. And hopefully this works. I haven't played with the tool much other than in beta. But generally speaking, you're going to have to play with these. It may limit the lineups that I build. It may not. 20 lineups, 3 unique players. Let's go all the way out to, say, a 4th. And if I want to use all the players, I can. If in my primary stack I only want to use line 2 guys, you know, where's Theodore? I know he's not a line 2 guy per se. Oh, he is. So I've got just those guys stacked. And over here, I want to run the 1s. So that would be March or so. Where's Carlson? Still put the defenders in there. Riley Smith, Carlson. And we'll just throw it like that. So I'm going to get in some combos these guys line 2 and some combos these guys in line 1. I can do this with any of these teams that I want. I can control that stack as much as I want. I could have it be only these 3 guys up top if I wanted it to be. I click optimize. That gives you so much player control. It's ridiculous. Now I come down here and start checking my lineups. Pittsburgh, 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 Anaheim, Anaheim, Anaheim with a 1-off in Vegas. Interesting. Pittsburgh, Calgary, Vegas. Still no Vegas stack. Should be in a ton of my stacks. It does not like Vegas stack. Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. And this was the line 2 Vegas guys. So that came off the left side. Come down here, Pack Ready again. Where's my Vegas stacks? Pack Ready, tuck. There's my line 2 stack again. My line 2 stack again. Line 2 stack again. It's a one-off. Theodore Pacioretty really loves Pacioretty. There's Marchessault, Riley Smith, England. England is fine. That's a line 1 stack with Pacioretty. It's just going to force him in everywhere. That tells me, the more I play with this, tells me I should really consider Pacioretty tonight. Something likes him. If I follow the industry a little bit and they're chirping about him too, then I'm going to eat him in cash games. In hockey, I'll fade him in tourneys because the chalk fails in hockey so often. It's hard to find a consistent guy in hockey. It's very easy to fade those guys and just bank on somebody else having a good night. Works very, very well. Jerry DeSmith looking at the goalies here a little bit. Just interesting. This is how you can control those stacks. This is how you can kind of play with that stuff as you set things up to the parameters that you want. I recommend you come in here and give it a shot. Let's go play some hockey tonight if you're interested. You've got the basketball info. You've got the NFL info. You've got the hockey domination stage. You've got optimizers for all 3 sports now. You can go jam out and play quarters. 150 lineups across the board for 3 sports. I mean, what else do you want for $50 a month? I mean, you get the coaching and the explanation, you get the tools, you get the optimizer, you get all of this, the premium articles as well as you get it all for that same value. And I realize that's a big commitment for some people on smaller budgets, but for others of you, it's not a big commitment. It's an investment in your own game. You're playing $200, $300, $400 a night anyway. You might as well get the advice to help make you a better player. You can't do that if you're not a VIP, though. So you need to go to the comment section, click the link, dfsarmy.com, hit the code CHOP, C-H-O-P, trigger that 10% off discount, click the like, click the subscribe button, give me a follow out on Twitter, and retweet. If $50 is a concern to you, which it is to probably a lot of people, hell, I watch every $50 bill I ever get. But what I want you to do is go out onto Twitter, retweet my pinned tweet, DFS Diary, and enter yourself into me paying for your January. That can't be too big of a risk, can it? Hell, cash games are riskier than that. You got nothing to lose, and you might find yourself on a Chopadong sponsored trial at dfsarmy.com. Ring the notification bell while you're down there. Go ahead and get updates every time I release a new video. I'm going to try and release them fairly often, pretty much daily. You know, when I've got a little bit of stuff to cover, a little bit of stuff to say, a little bit of tip to share, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But more of my tips come inside dfsarmy.com to my VIPs that ask specific questions and get very thorough answers from me every time because I'm dedicated in helping you become a better player to the best of my ability. And if not, I know the guys inside the Army that can help you even further. So whether you're a beginner or an expert, promise you I can point you in the right direction and get you helped out, get you to that next level that you're looking to achieve in this daily fantasy sports era that we love to play. Thanks again, guys. It's been Wednesday. It's been Chop Talk, trifecta style. Come back and see me tomorrow. We'll have more stuff to dig up, more stuff to talk about, more numbers to share. Take care.